Warning. Now, you listen to me, you insignificant piece of human excrement. You do that once more, and you won't be able to eat solid food ever again. You absolute tosser! Why the hell did you do that? These are some of the flowery words you may hear on the day you spoil today's movie to someone. The movie we're about to talk about was released almost 20 years ago, yes. However, this is one you want to experience fully without getting it spoiled. So, fair bit of warning, we will not shy away from spoilers. Take it like this. You would not want someone to tell you who Kaiser Soze is, right? Same deal here. So, this episode is significant for 3 reasons. It's the first time we talk about the M. Night Shyamalan film. His film Unbreakable was released in 2000, which is 8 years before the Marvel Cinematic Universe started the revolution, which now makes it that superhero movies are highly mainstream, bringing billions of dollars back, even Oscars. And it got 2 sequels, the second of which we didn't see coming at all. Not unlike Highlander, when I thought I was immortal after watching it, I am very rarely sick. So I don't recall breaking anything ever. When there is a virus or microbes, if I catch them, it's 2 days max.
Lucky you.
Nice.
Yeah. So today, Unbreakable. We are introduced to Samuel L. Jackson's character as he's being born in 1961. It's designed in a way that don't see exactly that something fishy is going on. And then we're introduced in a very nice long take, I would say, scene to Bruce Willis' character. Basically, we see the kid for a few seconds from the eyes of a child who is seated in seats in front of the seats where his character and woman is trying to woo, establishing right away without saying anything, because he's removing his ring and then he tries, but it doesn't work. And it's a whole one sequence up until big bright light that englobes the screen, which is the train crash. Have you ever seen this film before, guys?
No.
No, I hadn't seen this film before. I've seen a couple of M. Night Shyamalan movies before.
Yes.
I still haven't forgiven him for the terrible, it's just abysmal Avatar adaptation from the TV series, which apparently there's concept art for like a Netflix series of that, which I'm like, okay, but last time it was adapted to live action. Didn't work out very well. So, having said that, do you like Sixth Sense? So, you know.
This film reminded me a lot of Sixth Sense, just because it's Bruce Willis and a kid, and the kid knows more than everyone else and is kind of seen as the person that the person that you're interested in, or sees things that you don't see. It's a weird one, this one for me, because I kind of hated it all the way through. And then afterwards, I was like, that was quite entertaining. And I don't know if it's because, I'm not a huge comic book fan, so maybe the structure was strange for me, or the storyline was a bit too fantastical that I just didn't get it. M. Night Shyamalan kind of likes his trick shot, which kind of took me away from the story, which have made me feel like, oh, he's trying to be cool. And, I didn't leave the film and go, oh, well, that was a total waste of time. I mean, it's not my favorite film, especially of his. It was more enjoyable than when I was actually watching it.
This comes out after Wing and a Fire, right? I think it does. Wing and a Fire is no longer my least favorite movie we've done on this podcast. This is now my least favorite film we've ever done.
Oh, no.
So I would rather watch a Wing and a Fire again than watch this ever again.
Wow.
I hate this film.
You hate it?
I hate this film.
Wow.
Okay. This will be interesting.
That's interesting. Is that because, in a similar way as The Illusionist, there was not enough foreshadowing before the twist? Or
no, it's
nothing.
No, it's for multiple. We'll get into it. Let's start. You brought up the children watching Bruce Willis flirt with the woman. There's so many shots in this film. You know when you're a student and it's like, let's be edgy, let's try something just to be different. There are many shots in this film that some of them work for like an artistic, interesting. Like the one where he's recovered from the crash and we see the dead body in front of him, the body, and then it dies within the same scene. Cool shot. But there are also shots like the thing with the kid that keeps moving back and forth. I know you're trying to do something different instead of just having, close up, over the shoulder, back and forth, which I've criticised before, like in Colossal. I criticised that bar scene when it went ping, 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 ping. It just didn't add anything for me. If anything, it distracted me. I'm like, this is just really odd, that one shot. And that's when we started off with that. I'm like, okay, this film's going to be a bit like okay, but then they started talking. This is the worst written thing I've ever watched. The room in this film are equal for how bad the dialogue is.
No.
Yeah, the dialogue is so clunky. So clunky.
It is clunky. You know, when dialogue is a bit strange and it works with the film, I think quite a lot of the time the dialogue is okay, but then sometimes a sentence will come out and it seems a bit exposition-y, like you just want to tell us some part of the story that, you know, that the audience would need to hear. It doesn't actually fit. Putting it next to The Room is harsh.
For dialogue. Troll 2.
No, come on.
So the dialogue felt, honestly, some of the dialogue felt like it was badly translated. The scene that stands out to me with the worst dialogue is when the son is going to shoot the dad in the kitchen. We don't shoot friends, do we? We don't shoot our friends. It's like...
That was a bad scene.
I'm like, what? Just say, put the gun down. Don't shoot me, I'm your dad. You know, when it's so in your face of how bad some lines are. At 3 points in the film, I pressed the button to see on the DVD how long we had left. I did that 3 times during this movie.
That's bad. That's a bad sign.
And when we got to 40 minutes, I'm like, oh good, there's only an hour left.
Yeah, really bad sign. I do agree with you. That scene where the son pulls the gun out and points it to his dad, I think that was a bad scene. But I think, I don't know if it's directorial or writing or even Bruce Willis acting, but he just suddenly explodes and it's not believable. And because he's the person that the camera's pointed to, the whole scene just falls apart because you don't believe him.
I have no idea what the filmmaker was trying to achieve, but maybe he was trying to not to achieve something realistic, but more heightened.
Well, I thought that as well. Like, is the dialogue meant to be like bubbles in a comic book? And even if it is, that's an insult to comic book writing. Like, just because it's a comic book doesn't mean your dialogue has to be expositionally. Like, they're artists. Yeah. They're artists and writers. In fact, they're some of the best writers. I mean, the writers of the Batman animated series are hailed as like geniuses, you know, like, and that's why that series from the 90s is watched over and over again. And hence it's just been released it was released on Blu-ray last year, the whole of Batman the animated series. In fact, to say like, oh, it's a bit, you know, it's clunky dialogue, it's a comic book film. I'm like, that's kind of an insult to comic books.
I never actually thought about this film maybe was trying to show a heightened sense of relationships or...
No, there are some videos explaining, like, if he's doing, Bruce Willis is doing everything slowly there, taking pauses, waiting for 2 seconds when he's in on the stairs and stuff. There are people analyzing that kind of stuff on the internet. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's probably at the time, so 2000, it was around the time where superhero movies were more like the old, like, Fantastic Four with the stuff that looked like TV in the 70s.
Well, we had, this predates Spider-Man 1, isn't it? Spider-Man 1 was 2001, I think.
Yeah, I think it does predate. I think it predates any...
Well, the last one I would think before this, I don't know if it predates Catwoman. No, it might. I think Catwoman's like 03. But like Batman and Robin is probably the last one out before this at the end of the 90s with George Clooney, which is terrible.
Oh dear.
So
the Visa card.
Oh yeah.
The bad credit card.
I mean,
never leave the cave without it. This is why Superman works alone. Like, terrible. Absolutely dreadful movie.
I just want to crawl up into a corner and die every time I hear that.
Uma Thurman is Poison Ivy.
Who is one of my favourite characters, can I just say?
We've never had a good version of her yet.
No.
In film. In film before the comic book fans go, well, I agree. City Sirens, great comic book.
Yeah, that I agree with. I enjoyed that. I've actually read that.
City Sirens should have been the film, not Birds of Prey, just saying.
So you've got clunky dialogue at moments. The sad thing is, and maybe this is because I'm trying so hard to like it, is because I think the story is awesome. I really like this whole yin and yang thing of, you know, if I keep breaking, then there must be someone in the universe that cannot break. I love that idea. I think this is why I would love comic books, actually, if I was a huge fan, because I think there's quite a lot of that sort of fantastical thinking behind, and also like a backstory. I love a backstory.
Well, DC loves an origin story. It's just look how many times they told Superman's origin story. It's like every single Superman movie is an origin story.
And so I thought this was really nice. Maybe it was the ending. I think that the fact that writing just comes up, it feels unfinished. It was like I wanted more.
It was like the end of like Hawaii Five-0 or something. You know, like these 80s American shows, it would like do, like it would freeze frame and then the dialogue. Like,
Yeah.
or like the A-Team. You know, like that's not, I don't mean the A-Team ended like that. Like the A-Team, like it would be an explosion and then it would like freeze frame on the explosion and then some dialogue would come up.
But doesn't it feel like the production company lost money and so they couldn't carry on with the scenes that they wanted to show? So they just decided to put up writing on a freeze frame?
That'd be funny if that was true, but I don't think it's that.
Just like, Paul said in Hereditary, like,
It's
Yeah.
tell, don't show.
Is this the first case of like sequel baiting? You know, like it ends with him leaving the villain after we discover the spoiler alert that Elijah is his arch villain, like he caused the train crash, whatever. All these other like horrible events that he's done to try and find somebody who's the opposite of him. And then it's like, well, we'll see you next time, and it'll be Bruce Villain, Bruce Willis. Alfred Pennyworth.
Oh, for God.
Oh dear. That was right. It's Pennywise I kept saying anyway.
Pennyworth.
Pennyworth. Anyway.
Pennyworth, the dancing butler.
Could Batman be in It Chapter 2? That'd be great.
So we know that, for instance, The Matrix, the first one was so successful that they said afterwards, yeah, we planned a trilogy all along and all that stuff.
And the other two are rubbish. I haven't watched them in a long time.
So you're saying that sometimes people will say, oh yeah, we wanted to make another one, but actually they had no idea that it would be that successful.
Oh, yeah. That happens all the time.
I mean, the first Buffy was produced as 10 episodes, and it was successful that they ended up with 7 seasons, but they shot the series of 10 episodes. So I'll also be, because it's in the same universe anyway, spoiling a bit the two following ones. 2000, Unbreakable. 2017, Split. The way twists work in the first two ones. So basically you've got a story, and usually the twist, it's something at some point that makes you want to re-explore everything in a new way. Like, in this one, that's one single thing at the end. And in Split, it's the fact that it is a sequel, the twist, the major twist. And the third one, basically, is to an overload of twists, is just, you don't care anymore.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know what happened for this one, because sometimes projects are in people's minds for decades and the right moments only happens when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, yeah. It's funny because you see online that, like, this is a cult, this has got a cult following, and it's a beloved deconstructed style of comic book movie. And it is interesting because with time, obviously because of what comic book movies were like in the 2000s, not really existing. Well, certainly not to the degree that they exist now, where every film is like, we've got to have a universe. Like the cinematic universe idea that started with Iron Man and subsequent films.
So I think the one line that really jumps out at me is, go where people are.
Do what people do.
Go where people, do what people
outside.
do. That would make sense to an actor, but like, what does that mean? And then of course he goes to a place where people are, but surely people are everywhere. But of course Bruce Willis knows where he's supposed to go. Grand Central Station.
Are they in New York? No, it's Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Sorry.
Yes.
No, yeah, where he's going to do that thing is there is a stadium, right?
He goes to like a place where...
Huge station.
Yeah, he goes to a train station.
It looks like Grand Central Station, but maybe smaller.
Yeah, it's not Grand Central. Grand Central is huge.
So it's so heightened that it's actually Grand Central Station, but they were supposed to be in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Very, very heightened.
that scene reminded me of that scene in the station reminded me of the scene in Heavy Rain, where like you're trying to find your like first clue. Sean is running around with a balloon in the train station, bumping into people because you're having like a panic attack. A lot of this film felt like a David Cage style game. If you liked Detroit, Becoming Human, and Heavy Rain, I mean, this isn't too bad if you're into that sort of thing. I mean,
but it's a film. You don't control the characters, so surely that's a very different medium.
Well, it's a different medium, but I think the story and the sort of filming elements they're very similar.
But then
styles. originals.
So then I can understand why it is a cult. It has a cult following, because if you're putting them against those, then I understand completely why someone would like it.
I mean, it doesn't fit in anywhere else. As much as I don't like this film, I'll give it credit. It is original.
It is original.
You know, in a world now that's heavily populated with everyone trying to make a cinematic universe or a comic book movie, this isn't bad. If you want something original that's a comic book film, not bad. It's not for me. I can appreciate what it does. So there are good, I will say positive things about it, but it isn't. It's just not for me, and I will criticize it equally as well as give it compliments. I'll give it a compliment now, shall I?
Try.
One of the very last scenes in the kitchen with the orange juice, and Bruce Willis passes across the newspaper to the kid. The shots after that are cool as well, where it's like nice. There's a nice moment of not saying anything when it's not saying any of the terrible dialogue.
Yeah, I think the kid was really good.
But the fact is that shot's framed that looks like, I thought that the kid had superpowers for a split second. I'm like, is the kid able to like pull things? Does he have like telekinesis?
Yeah,
I thought that for a second. Which was quite nice.
Actually, my first thought was, is Bruce Willis's arm that long that he can reach over the table?
Nice. But Bruce Willis is Doc Ock.
Yeah, exactly. He just suddenly goes.
Bruce Willis as Doc Ock would be good casting.
Not Doc Ock. He'd be what's Mr. Stretch? That's not his name.
Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic.
Rick. Is it Rick Reeve?
That
it's
rings
Reeve
a bell,
something.
yeah.
It's Reeve something. I don't know.
He's a doctor, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like a super scientist.
What? Super scientist.
I don't know what he is, so I'm just going to say a super scientist. Because if I was going to say a neuroscientist, but I'm like, it's probably not, and get comic book people saying, "Oh my god, he doesn't even remember that he's a astrologist scientist or whatever he is."
When the Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah.
Okay. With his sister and his wife. The sister of Chris Evans, who wasn't Cap America at the time.
So we're not talking about the Fantastic Four that was released and bombed everywhere, and nobody remembers the recent Fantastic Four.
No, the one where the haircut of the lead female changed depending on the scene.
Reshoots.
Depending on the shot in the scene, actually.
Oh, God.
It was terrible.
It had Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch.
It did, yeah.
I also struggled to, because essentially, indeed, it talks a lot.
Yeah.
Talks a lot for a while. But as I explained in my intro, and it's partly because it was the first time I saw something like this, obviously, that genuinely I am not unbreakable because I've hurt myself, mostly muscles.
Shout out to falling down the stairs and delaying the show, or one of our student shows.
Oh God, that was scary.
I know, Yann fell down the stairs.
Yeah,
crazy.
We could have been seen by Patrick Tucker, but because of me, we weren't.
Cheers for that, by the way, because our one was not ready.
You know, do we have half an hour already? Do we feel we have stuff to add?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I have stuff to say.
I got a new one. We should write down what qualifies in the category of Hollywoodized. I've got a new suggestion.
I'll allow it.
It's called overscoring. This movie is so overscored.
You ruined a part of this film for me, because as soon as you said that, we watched it together and couldn't stop hearing the music. The whole thing just has music all the way through.
It's the bit I noticed the scoring was when he's doing the weights, which is quite a nice scene of finding the superpowers. I mean, you think of like Spider-Man with the glasses. I can see without my glasses, and then the whole climbing up the wall thing from the Sam Raimi movie. This one's not bad either. The whole, doing the weights and like being scared of like, I'm going to drop it, and then realizing I was like, actually I could do this. Nice.
How much did you put on now? All of it.
I didn't take any off. I'm sorry, Dad. I actually added a metric ton.
Yeah, and then the paint buckets.
The paint buckets from when we painted the garage last year. Do you remember when we painted the garage? The music in that scene is like, it's not bad, but it's there. It's always on. And the scene after that that was the moment I said to Anouk, I'm like, this is overscored. And then there's a scene later on where Bruce Willis and Robin Wright's character are having like a date. They're like in a restaurant with a nice like pretty background. Again, one of the shots that are just framed to have things in it. The artwork on the restaurant wall. But the music is like this. It goes dum dum doo 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 doo. It's a melancholy sequence. Yeah. It's like I'm playing emotional beats so I can emote. Almost, it's like forcing you to feel.
It just doesn't stop. I think that's the problem.
It's similar to Anouk, you'll get this reference in Desperate Housewives. You know how they'll have like a sort of like like ditzy music for when one of the characters is being a bit mischievous.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's like that.
No, but that's fine.
That's fine because it works in that genre, because that's what Desperate Housewives is. It's like playing up this cereal, you know?
Yeah, but also it wants you to emote in that moment, so it's fine. It's only the problem is it's only when the music doesn't stop and then you become really aware of it. It means it takes away from anything else, right?
When you're relying on music to do what the words or the acting can do, that's when you're in trouble.
But that's the problem. It didn't need to overscore. It's like, did you not believe in what you were doing? Because if there was less music, this would have been better.
And this is
So it's not about the fact that he was relying on the music. It's the fact that he thought he had to.
The reason I say it's a qualification in the Hollywoodized category is because we recently tried to watch Stuart Little, and Stuart Little has the same problem. Like, it doesn't stop playing music.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
that's like a children's movie, isn't it? Like,
yeah, but and you're right, to keep them engaged. It's like why we eat popcorn while at the movies, because if the movie's boring, at least we're eating something.
That's not why I eat popcorn in a movie.
No, but that's the idea. Is to keep you, it's the idea to keep you engaged in the cinema, so you don't walk out.
Sorry, I totally disagree with that.
What
The
do you mean?
reason why is because that's the only way that a cinema makes money.
Well,
One, and two, it's because if you have popcorn, you'll need a sugary drink and then you buy Coke.
it's why people play with their phones while watching Netflix. You know, it's like you've got something to do, even if you're not enjoying what you're watching.
Yeah.
You've got an option.
All right, so thought experiment.
All right.
Do you think your view would have been modified if you watched that in your childhood?
Probably, yeah. We've talked about this before about nostalgia for certain films. I'm sure if we watch, well, you talk for Wing and a Five, for example, we talk about it in there.
Yes, because if I had that kind of innocent outlook on it, like, oh, this could happen, or I think also quite a lot of times when people still read comic books and are still into Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, etc., it's because they grew up with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then they have that nostalgia plus finding new things on on different mediums. I might have maybe given it more of, benefit of the doubt now that I'm super aware of how a film is made. And I felt like some of the shots, it was just like, are you trying to be clever?
Well, yeah.
And I think a film, that's problematic if I'm aware that you're trying to be clever.
It's like I said in the beginning, is like there are some shots that are nice when you frame them to be different, but they're also framed to be easy. For example, the shot that I like with the Bruce Willis and the man dying in front of him is a really nice shot to show he's a bit different, and it separates him from it. But there are also shots where they're set up wider away just because it saves time and money. For example, when he asks, have I ever had a sick day? Instead of going back and forth between them, which you could do there, they just stick the camera further back, let it roll, one take, right, next.
Gosh, that's sad.
It is sad, and you'll see when films do it, because the shot is nice, and it's a nice wide shot, what we would use as an establishing shot, probably.
That shot, actually, the one that you just brought up, I thought was really good. Bruce Willis in the background, the doctor's talking to him, camera left. In front of him, you see only a little bit of a body that's just completely bandaged, which is kind of pulsating in a really horrific way. But then you've also got like death right in front of him. It made me feel something.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it that many times, but every time, and that's why I'll put it where I'll put it, I get engaged into the hero's journey, like in the refusal of the thing. And this time watching it, I watched a bit more the shots and all that stuff. But when I'm feeling a bit, which is interesting because I never realized that in the movie, even though it's overbearing, as you said. But when I feel sad or I need to get pumped up, I get some music and I don't stop for hours.
Music that's why I get a bit teary-eyed at the charge of the Rohirrim in Lord of the Rings, because the music swells and the speech and the delivery all work. It's when everything comes together, like music is a very powerful emotional tool, because it's a way of somebody, the composer, the artist, expressing themselves and letting what they're feeling out. The use of music overly enough to relying on the music to get you there in a film it's not like it's a song. A song is designed in that sense to emote something in you. That's why songs that are like cash grabs are crap, and you don't listen to them. You could listen to Don McLean's American Pie, which is like telling a story, and it's sadly composed, and it's to do with, if it's a minor or major, whatever, all the musical technicalities you can get into as well. But there's something about a song that has heart, which makes you feel something. And it's the same with movies. It's like, we enjoy a movie that tries to do something. So I totally get it. I do the same thing. It's like that's why people work out to music, because it makes them feel energetic and stuff like that. But when you use it in a film, you're like, This is the sad bit. This is the heroic bit. This is the wife leaving him bit.
Yeah, you have the feeling they're drilling your brain a bit at some parts.
Yes.
I've probably made this point before, but it's more that he didn't need to rely on the music the whole way through, because the story is so good. Like, I totally believe in that. It didn't make me angry. It made me want to like the film more. So I've been trying to find scenes and shots that I really enjoyed, because the story and the idea behind it is awesome. But yeah, there are these moments where it takes away from the actual story. Like, so for example, you've got the overscoring, you've also got the trick shots, the one where it's focused on the comic book that Elijah gets for a birthday present. It's upside down, and then when he puts it the right way, the camera follows it so it stays upside down, but then goes in a 360 to make it like right again. Why?
There was a lot of upside down stuff in this film, right?
Which I like, so I like it when
all upside down, but they never went to Seoul.
Exactly.
Joseph, I think, maybe. Yeah.
I think it might be Joseph.
When he's upside down watching TV, I quite liked that. It didn't feel like anyone was trying to be cool. It was just a different way of showing a scene. Sometimes when you're watching something and this is why maybe Dutch angles are so awesome, because they're different enough for you to be like, oh, something's happening here, and it's making it, a statement in its own way. It's not too tricky where you're taken away from the actual story, because surely that's what film is, a story. So then why are you taking away from the storyline? Because now I'm focused on how interesting that shot was.
I'm sitting here trying to work out the journey. I know the journey of the story in the sense of, like, he's on a train, he has an accident, he walks away, he wonders why. Somebody tells him why, he doesn't believe it, he finds out that it's true, and then uses it. If it's the hero's journey, this film ends before it really begins.
Yeah.
There's no conclusion.
So I'm glad other people think that it does end interrupt the conclusion. Okay, so I'm not mad in thinking that.
It definitely does. But maybe that messes up with the whole film, because you want it to carry on.
Sorry to interrupt. If you see Elijah as the protagonist, we're good, because he was confused all his life and now he's sure. So that's his journey, and we're good. But obviously he's not the protagonist. Oh, I don't know.
No, I agree. I think
that's a
Bruce
good point.
Willis is a protagonist. You see Bruce Willis as a protagonist, yeah.
Because I guess you follow his story. Well, no, actually you don't. That's interesting. Is it Bruce Willis gets more screen time, but it's about Samuel L. Jackson?
I think it's Bruce Willis's story. I think, even though it starts
with his birth,
with the birth of
Elijah,
I think it has to start with that, because if you just started with the train crash and that stuff's not explained, you're like, who is this guy? I don't really care. I don't believe you're unbreakable. Like, we need to start with the whole thing of, like, his arms are broken and his legs are broken. We need to start with that. You need to establish that that's a thing, and if you put that as the very first thing in your film, regardless if a person like myself doesn't enjoy the film, you believe that fact, you're already on board.
Because if you follow Bruce Willis through from the beginning, and then you introduce Elijah into the story, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able for them both to have a conversation about. I guess the problem is that Elijah knows about Bruce Willis, so you kind of need to understand that Elijah knows about Bruce Willis before Bruce Willis has any idea that Elijah's involved. So maybe that's why you need to know Elijah before you meet, or you need to know his origin story.
I don't think he knows who Bruce Willis's character is until after the train crash.
Yeah.
Are you saying, do you mean that? Do you mean he knows who he is before the crash, or do you think he finds out? It's like, oh, you're the same as me afterwards.
So I thought that the plane crash and everything happened before.
Yeah.
The train crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, so surely he would know, because Elijah was the reason why those things happened.
Yeah, because he was trying to find somebody that was unbreakable. Not because he knew Bruce Willis was there.
He's trying to find Bruce Willis in that. Okay, but I think the point still stands.
Yeah,
that maybe that's why M. Night Shyamalan thought that was a good idea, to bring in Elijah first.
I never remember the first name, so that's why I don't use it. But David Dunn is the Bruce Willis's character.
Yeah, I know.
But it's the same thing as go back to Colossal. It's not Anne Hathaway's character's name it's Anne Hathaway. It's Bruce Willis. It's Bruce Willis. When an actor eclipses who they are, especially after Sixth Sense for Bruce Willis, and Die Hard as well. I can't even remember his name in Die Hard either, which is annoying.
John McClane.
That's it, John McClane.
I think there are different ways that you could have introduced Elijah's character.
I think he's also introduced so you don't see the twist coming.
Yeah. Also, the disorder that he has is real.
Yeah, type 1 osteogenesis imperfecta.
There you go. Dr. Yann has spoken. But yeah, no, like it exists. So it's not exactly as if like, oh, we don't believe that you have this disease, because it's not like it's some fantastical thing.
No, I didn't mean that we don't believe he has that. I just mean the fact of like, okay, you're another character introduced that has an ability. I mean, if you introduce him first, you care about this character because you met him.
But you don't.
Well, that's an argument because he's not in the film enough. I'm just saying that's why he's introduced first in the opening scene. Do you know what I mean? And we get the childhood stuff so that we have more to try and attach ourselves to this person.
The follow-up episodes will be fascinating because that's my favorite of the three.
What, this one?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I mean, maybe I need to watch it again.
No, you don't.
As a piece, as a standalone piece, that is. The other ones are doing some nice stuff, but it's going...
I watched this as a standalone piece. As much as I knew that Unbreakable was, I don't know what the twist in Split is. I don't know how they interact and they get together. But I knew that Unbreakable was the first one. But even with that in mind, I wasn't really paying attention because I hadn't seen Split yet, so I don't know what the twist is. So with that in mind, I was watching this as its own piece. You know, it's all right. You know, I don't like this film. Is it my least favourite thing? I think I was a bit harsh saying that at the beginning, because now we've talked about it, I'm like, yeah, there's some nice stuff in here. I don't know if it's good or not. That's the difficulty here with this one. It's like it's in the middle because it's not amazing. It's in that really odd category of like, this film does nice things, but it also does a lot of things wrong.
Yeah, of course. I understand.
If you're just like a film watcher, and unlike us to have, because we scrutinise film to the nth degree, like it's a homework assessment for school or university, we can't watch films on face value. If you're just watching this for, it's Bruce Willis and I quite like this idea. Like if you like the idea of a regular superhero, I'd recommend Kick-Ass over this in that genre though, which came out much later on.
But that's also making a little bit of fun.
True, at what the superhero genre was becoming. That is also
tongue in cheek. Whereas this is really not. It's actually quite dark.
Which people think wouldn't work for superhero movies, but did work very well for Christopher Nolan.
I love those Batman films.
Well, arguably the best superhero movies ever made.
Yeah.
I was so into superhero movies at the time that I think I realized 10 years afterwards that there was a third one.
Oh, really?
Oh, wait. I've never seen... is that the last one where Tom Hardy is, right?
Oh, Yann, you are the dark. I was born in the darkness.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Oh no, only saw bits with Marion Cotillard's death and stuff.
To be fair, Yann will be able to know what Bane said because he would have watched it with subtitles. So you're the only one here that would know what was going on in it. There's a scene where Bane kills a character, and no, I don't think anybody yet knows what he says.
I didn't even watch The Revenant with subtitles.
Oh, really?
And in this one, he's pretty heavy. Well, I probably understood only 60%.
Your glance you get nerve.
Yeah, it's quite an intense...
Leave him.
Because it ended so abruptly, it ruined the whole thing for me. And I just wanted them to even just like tack on one more scene, maybe just to show what the writing was telling us. I didn't want to be told in writing. I wanted to actually see.
Show, don't tell.
Because also writing, I think, is only fine if it was a true story.
Yeah, when it tells you what happened afterwards, the events of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, God. I mean, there are loads of films that do this.
There's one good example of that working in fiction, and it's at the end of Tutti Frutti. No, sorry, not Tutti Frutti. Tutti Frutti is a song in the film. American Graffiti. American Graffiti does that at the very end, which we'll watch one day because it's one of my dad's favourite films.
We talked about that also previously. It's also the case in That Thing You Do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
Entirely fictional, and then we're updated on where they're...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Tutti Frutti. Oh, fucking hell. American Graffiti does the same sort of thing, yes. I know, again, it goes against your point, but I meant there are cases in fiction that does work. Here is not one of them. But also, both of those films... That Thing You Do and American Graffiti are not like superhero fiction. Like the events in those two films are not out of the ordinary. Like they're very based in reality. So you can buy into the idea of like, oh, they actually had lives afterwards. In this, we're like, okay, wow, to be continued.
Based in reality, well, the guy is very strong, and essentially, if you watch the extended universe, he can't die or something. But I don't feel that it's as fantasy, like, it could happen. It's probably why also I liked it in the first place. Yeah, the guy obviously is so strong that, stronger than anyone else, and Elijah, but it doesn't feel like anyone has powers in this, does it?
No. And I agree. I thought that was quite nice because it felt very real, and it wasn't, basking in that kind of, oh, look at these amazing people with superpowers. And it didn't feel very childish. It was like a film. It was totally adult, especially with David's relationship with the wife. That kind of brings things into reality, because we all know what that feels like.
Did not believe their relationship, though.
Well, I think we were introduced. I think the problem with this film is that it introduces you to characters in a really weird way. Like, I don't care about Elijah enough. I don't care about David's character enough to think that it's okay that you then put into writing at the end, Elijah was sent to a psychiatric hospital. I don't care about his character enough. So why would I then... And also, you don't care that David feels almost scorned by Elijah. He's like, you lied to me and you killed all those people, but I didn't care as an audience member because I felt like you weren't. Also, from the get-go, that Elijah's mad, so it's not even like a Sixth Sense twist where you're like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. It
also is, in a filmmaking aspect here, the film doesn't feel like it's ending at that point. Like, we don't feel we're in the last 2 minutes of the film.
No, because you just find out. Well, you just see that David has found out that Elijah has made this whole thing possible. Mm. And then it ends and it's like, but you just found out that something awful has happened. Like, how can you end this film here?
Yeah.
It's a shame, I think. I also think Samuel L. Jackson is playing a state of crazy, which annoys me anyway.
I couldn't stop saying the line from Pulp Fiction throughout this film.
I know.
Of, do I look like a bitch? Like that line from when this is a tasty burger. Like that whole section that was in there. I was like, why am I saying this throughout this film?
I don't know.
Probably because this scene the whole of, you see that Samuel Jackson can play. He has a range. He's a good actor.
Yeah, he is.
I think everyone is limited by the terrible dialogue.
Yeah, I think also it might have been a directorial decision to be like, can you please act a bit off kilter?
Yeah.
Because that's maybe more fun to watch and play. And
or you're trying to do a stylized piece.
Do you want to say that again?
They're trying to do a stylized piece.
Nice.
I mean, they're trying to do a style. I'll say it so it doesn't seem weird in the edit.
Or that you're yawning halfway through.
It seems like they're doing a stylized piece from somewhere in Scotland, I know. No, it seems like they're acting in a stylized piece. Which is
You've said that before.
I know, but I'm saying it for the safety. Right? Because you now edit that there's a moment where you cut something and then you can't cut from me going like this. It's like, so anyway, it'd be like saying it's a stylized piece and then cutting stylized and me going stylized, because that would sound like me go, it's a bit like a stylized piece. Like, it doesn't work in the edit. So I'm giving the sentence again so we have the cut to make it sound like I'm not saying it again.
I've tried to make so many things like that in edits work. I'm like, please work.
Anouk just has so many things of me messing up. Yeah. Like, you keep them all. You're like, you saying candelabra is the funniest thing ever. Candelabra, blah, 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 blah,
yeah.
blah.
You're like, Camba Marbra. I'm like, sorry? What did you say?
Podcast of the year material.
I was like, what did you just say?
It's funny on a couch where somebody whose first language is not English. I'm the worst one at English on the couch.
I know.
Candelabra, I'll get that in mind.
Candelabra.
Behind the Candelabra.
I was like, sorry?
Behind the Handawabla.
The Candelabra.
Candle smacker.
Exactly.
Anyway, shall we abruptly end this and go into the rating?
Yeah.
Anouk, Yann was Unbreakable, good, bad, or just plain standard? Yann?
Okay, I'll put that. I'll put that in a category of non-formulaic superhero movies, along with Super, Kick-Ass, and Chronicle. This one I saw it in my childhood, so it goes in the vault.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, I understand your criticism. I get them.
Yeah.
It didn't. I would say it didn't affect me strongly as some other films in the vault, but enough that it's my favorite of the three.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Anouk?
This is actually really hard because I don't want to put it in bad.
Well, talk us through it. Why are you feeling bad?
Okay, I'm going to say bad. It's bad, but really good story. Really nice storyline. It's just a bit confused, and I almost really want to remake it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe Milk and a Wash.
Making a wash. Milk in a wash basin.
Maybe milk and... Oh my God, I just said Wilk. Milk in a wine glass can remake Unbreakable. Oh dear. Milk in a wine glass can remake Unbreakable.
Do you want to say that sentence again so you have the safety for the edit?
Maybe we can have Milk in a wine glass remake Unbreakable.
There you go. Now that makes sense.
Actually, a really difficult sentence.
It is, isn't it? And it's also difficult to remember exactly what you just said because you're like, what did I just say?
What did I just say? But it's literally like on the line of good and bad. Like it's not a bad film. It's just not good enough to be good. Do you know what I mean?
So I redeemed Hereditary, and I'm glad I did, because if this and Hereditary were both in the same category, I'd be annoyed at myself as a movie movie watcher and, in a way, critic. Because Hereditary is a well-made piece of cinema that has an interesting ideas, but for me, it didn't work in the way it's presented. Almost how Anouk feels right now. So, with that in mind, this is particularly bad. I'm trying to work out if this is just plain standard or bad. It does have interesting shots, but it equally does have shots that are lazy and are there to save time. And it's overscored, but with an interesting story. It's like it's like somebody's tried to make a pancake, and it's just, I didn't put chocolate chips in it, but it's come out with little brown burnt bits that taste all right.
That is the weirdest thing you've ever said.
That is actually. I got halfway. You know when you start saying a metaphor, an analogy, and you realise halfway through, I don't know where I'm going with this. That's what happened there.
Analogy master.
It's like riding a bike. No, I have no idea what this is like. I don't know what this is like.
It's like riding a bike.
It's like riding a bike, but realising it's a unicycle.
Then you're not riding a bike.
I know, but you did well. It works then, doesn't it? Because this film is not what it's meant to be, but it is enjoyable in some parts. I didn't set out to ride a unicycle, but I'm enjoying riding one. I've broken a nook.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's like being in the Navy, but realising you don't like guns. But it's fine because you're on a boat. Anyway,
you don't like water.
Yeah. You might have been in the Navy, but you wanted to be a synchronised swimmer. But it's fine because you're both near water.
You can't swim in there. Yeah, well, to join the military in general, the Navy, I was a bit surprised. So obviously you have to know how to swim, and you can't have flat feet.
Oh, really?
Which is you cannot. Which is the weirdest thing ever. Like they have this little transparent scale thing, and you step on it, and your feet are fine.
No,
okay.
But, I mean, that is so sad. If you were like, that's my lifelong dream, and just because of I don't know.
You can get it helped though. I had flat feet, and I wore insoles for like 5 years, and now I don't have flat feet. So I've got arches now.
I guess if you really wanted to be in the Navy, 5 years of insoles. And
like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, my rating ended up being a conversation about analogies that had nothing to do with the film in question. So that's quite fitting. No, this is either two things. This is either good, but I hated it, or it's bad, but it has good things in it. And I'm weighing up what way I'm going. Yeah,
I agree with that.
I'm going bad, but has good moments.
So same as me.
It is watchable, and if you're not like us, and you're like, I don't really watch movies for an analytical reason, you'll probably enjoy this. There's some nice stuff. I did quite like the whole like Halloween sequence at the end, where like pushing Bruce Willis off the balcony, like Laurie does to Michael at the end of Halloween 1. So there was like homages and stuff with the orange jumpsuit and stuff. So it was cool.
I like how he got tangled in the swimming pool cover. I quite liked that idea. It made me just maybe because it connects to my fear of being buried alive. Like drowning in a sheet is just like, whoa, that does not sound good.
7 have died. I think, is it? I don't remember. I know 12 magicians died with a bullet catch, but there is also a number for those who died during the being
buried alive.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh God.
7 or something. Yeah.
Jesus.
That's horrific.
Do we think we're good?
I think we're good.
We are good.
And I apologize if anyone's watching who's come from this being a cult film and we've just like totally shat all over it. I do apologize.
I don't think we shout all over it though.
It's got good moments, but as a film, it's nah.
It's all right.
Okay. It's time to introduce something for our YouTube viewers only, so please don't clarify what's coming, it's visual on purpose. I'd like to welcome the Thumb. This chap will show you right now what he thought about movies he went to see lately. Captain Marvel, The Kid Who Would Be King, The White Crow, Fighting With My Family. I'll develop quickly on Captain Marvel because we just talked about a superhero movie, and I think I've decided, in addition to my boycott of trailers, to stop watching YouTube commentators. After a large consumption of Doctor Who Season 11 and Star Trek Discovery rant videos, that night I never got into the Star Wars ones for some reason, maybe because I don't give a shit about Star Wars. I was pumped down by all the controversy surrounding its exclusion, its weird marketing, and in the end, after watching Captain Marvel, it's rather decent, to be honest. Yeah. Now I completely lost interest in those videos when I came some videos explaining that cinemas were planning to screen Captain Marvel exclusively during the opening week, like entire cinemas, just Captain Marvel,
right?
Which if you know how cinemas work, they pre-sell. So it was like, yeah, okay, now I'm done with it. This is just, I'm out. Also, I've been wondering for months now how to expand our YouTube channel, and I was gearing towards something very high energy without any jump cuts type of thing, because I was not finding that anywhere. And I just found someone who is doing just that.
Damn it.
Her name is Jessie Milestone, and I recommend her Captain Marvel review, Should You Bother video, released in early March of this year, on her YouTube channel, Mindless Entertainment. Very impressive, highly entertaining, kind of a 20-minute stream of consciousness, and I was impressed to realize I actually understood everything, so my English fluency must be way better than I sometimes think.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, getting there.
Also, between last week's
That sounded so offensive, didn't it?
It did.
Sorry, Yann.
You're getting there.
You're getting there, you foreigner.
It's not how he meant it, for God's sake.
Sorry, I didn't mean it like that.
I mean, it's there are spoilers, so it's probably once you've seen the movie, I recommend watching it. It's like Alex Jones on steroid and without any jump cuts. It's crazy.
Ooh.
It's in the water.
Also, between last week's episode, which was Amour with Boriana, and today's episode, Avengers Endgame was released. So the plan for next week is supposed to be They Shall Not Grow Old. However, if I manage to think properly, we should have recorded an episode of Avenger Endgame with me in duplex from New York. I'll set everything up here before I leave so we can do this smoothly, and it will be the first time we do something like this, so hopes up.
Fingers crossed.
There are actually in the world high-profile state secrets in the world. So if you're not necessarily completely nuts if you're into conspiracies. However, I'm a bit confused there. I was watching this documentary on Netflix called Behind the Curve about the flat earthers.
Oh God!
And as I was watching this, I had this weird impression. I was like, "But surely, wait, don't really." So they at the whole thing at one point they have this $20,000 gizmo laser thing that they use something to check for sure that it's a globe and not round or anything. And well, the results don't work as they planned anyway. But I was like, surely they've seen those videos. I've seen Center Space. I've seen a TARDIS, a baguette. I've seen so many stuff sent to space. I was like, all the way in my mind, all the way through. It's an hour and a half or something. I was like, surely they know. And actually, I've checked, and they did the experience, and they are still not convinced.
Well, that the world is round.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Going back to the Navy point, like, being in the Navy would be impossible if the Earth was flat, because you'd have to go, like, you'd have to sail to a point where there's a cut in the Pangea, or like the flat Earth, to go around. Otherwise, the whole world would just be full of canals. You know, like, just cutting through the street, like, oh, we can't get from here to here, so we'll have to sail all the way around. It's like, no, because the Earth's round, we can go round the seas.
Also, wouldn't you just hit an ice wall? Isn't that what they believe?
Yeah, but you can see...
And then you look over the side and you're on top of an elephant riding a turtle.
Yes.
I'd love that.
Shout out to Terry Pratchett.
The Great Turtle, which is also one reason I'm very excited about the Arrival. And when you listen to this, it's about to be released, I think, May. Yeah. Good Omens.
Oh, yeah.
With Everything We Love, written by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, and with Michael Sheen and David Tennant in it.
Amazing. And it sounds so good. It does.
And if we're into movie titles with one word, so that was today Unbreakable, also with Michael Sheen and Samuel L. Jackson, Unthinkable. This one is hard. This one is, you remember where Jack Bauer redefined how agents treat terrorists? This one is hard. This one is, this is a good one that I loved, and we'll have that at some point. Anyway, that's that was us.
All right.
I
think Unbreakable broke us. Well, me and Anouk.
No, it didn't. It's not that bad.
No, it's not, is it?
No.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, next time should be either, as I said, Avengers Endgame with a novelty, a live thing, or They Shall Not Grow Old. Either way, we'll see you next time. We were
Adam.
Anouk.
and Yann. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.